Hello everyone, and welcome to the Flora Files, where we dive into the world's most fascinating plants and fungi, one species at a time. Today's subject looks like something from a horror movie. Imagine walking through a peaceful forest and spotting what looks like a chunk of white chewing gum. Oozing blood, thick crimson droplets pooling on its surface, a pale body, soft-looking but solid, almost like a cupcake that's been shot. At first glance, you might think this fungus is injured, but those blood-red droplets? That's just the beginning of the weirdness. This is Hydnellum peckii, better known as the bleeding tooth fungus. And no, those drops aren't blood, but they're not just for show either. Why would a fungus ooze crimson fluid? And what secrets lie beneath that creepy exterior? Let's take a closer look. Its scientific name is Hydnellum peckii, named after American mycologist Charles Horton Peck, who formally described it in the early 1900s. But you might know it by one of its many nicknames: the bleeding tooth fungus, devil's tooth, or strawberries and cream. Each name captures a different aspect of this bizarre mushroom, whether it's the blood-red droplets, the toothy spines underneath, or its uncanny dessert-like appearance. But don't let the cute names fool you, this thing is no snack. Hydnellum peckii belongs to the genus Hydnellum in the family Bankeraceae, a group of fungi often found living in symbiosis with trees in forested environments. Now, one of its most unusual features is that it's what's known as a tooth fungus. Most mushrooms you're familiar with, like the ones you find at the grocery store, have gills underneath the cap. That's where they release their spores. But Hydnellum peckii is different. Instead of gills, it has a dense layer of tiny spines, or teeth, on the underside, and that's where the spores come from. This toothy trait gives it a rugged, alien appearance, as if it wasn't already strange enough. The cap is usually pale, anywhere from off-white to creamy beige, with a soft, almost plush texture. But what really draws attention are those vivid red droplets that ooze across the surface like fresh wounds. These droplets stand out like rubies on flesh, creating a striking contrast that's as mesmerizing as it is unsettling. Underneath the cap, instead of gills, you'll find a dense forest of tiny spines, a signature trait of tooth fungi. These spines are responsible for producing and releasing spores, the fungal equivalent of seeds. And over time, the drama continues. As the fungus matures, it begins to darken. The creamy surface turns brownish or grayish, and the once bright droplets disappear. The texture becomes tougher, even woody. By the end of its life cycle, it often looks shriveled, crusty, almost like it's been left in the sun for too long. It transforms from a bloodied marshmallow to something that wouldn't be out of place in a haunted forest. Now, to be clear, those red droplets? They're not blood. They aren't injury, infection, or anything supernatural. They're the result of a completely natural process called gutation. Gutation is a way for fungi, and sometimes plants, to get rid of excess moisture. When internal pressure builds up, the fungus pushes water out through tiny pores on its surface. The result? Beads of liquid that can collect and even drip down the cap, especially in humid conditions. In the case of Hydnellum peckii, though, those droplets aren't just water. They're loaded with pigments, particularly compounds related to atramentin, a substance found in some other tooth fungi as well. These pigments give the droplets their intense reddish hue, which looks eerily like fresh blood. But this liquid isn't just for show. Scientists believe it may serve an actual chemical defense function. Some studies suggest that the compounds in the gutation fluid may have antimicrobial properties, helping the fungus fight off bacteria or other competitors in the soil. It might also act as a deterrent to herbivores. After all, if you're a small creature looking for a snack, something that looks like it's bleeding might make you think twice. So no, it's not blood. But it might be close to poison, at least for microbes. One thing's for sure, this fungus knows how to put on a show while staying chemically armed beneath the surface. Creepy and clever. So where in the world does this bizarre little fungus actually live? Hydnellum peckii is found in select parts of North America, Europe, and Asia, but it's not the kind of thing you're likely to stumble across on your average hike. It's elusive, and it likes to keep a low profile. This fungus thrives in cool, damp environments, especially in coniferous forests. Think pine, spruce, or fir woodlands with plenty of moss, needles, and rich organic matter. It especially favors acidic soils, where the chemistry supports its growth and reproduction. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Hydnellum peckii is mycorrhizal. That means it doesn't just grow in the soil, it forms complex symbiotic partnerships with the roots of nearby trees. In exchange for sugars from the tree, the fungus provides nutrients and water, helping both organisms thrive in harsh conditions. It's a mutually beneficial relationship that's absolutely vital to the health of forest ecosystems. So even if you never see Hydnellum peckii, it may still be silently working underground, connecting trees through vast fungal networks, sometimes called the wood wide web. Above ground, though, it's a master of camouflage. The fruiting body, that creepy, dripping cap, is often small and low to the ground. It can easily be hidden beneath leaf litter, pine needles, or moss. Its pale colors blend in with the forest floor, and unless the red droplets are glistening in the right light, you might walk right past one without ever knowing. In short, it's a fungus that likes to keep its secrets. But if you're lucky enough to find one, you'll never forget the encounter. Now you might be wondering, can you eat it? The answer is a pretty firm no. Hydnellum peckii is not considered edible, but not because it's toxic in the usual sense, it's just incredibly bitter. Some say it's one of the most unpleasant tasting fungi in the forest. And it's also tough and woody, especially as it ages. Definitely not something you'd want to throw in a stir-fry or forage for your dinner plate. But just because it's inedible doesn't mean it's useless. Those strange red droplets and the pigments inside them have caught the attention of scientists. In particular, compounds similar to atramentin, the pigment responsible for that bleeding appearance, are being explored for medical potential. Some research has shown that atramentin-like substances may have anticoagulant properties, acting in a way that's similar to heparin, a well-known blood thinner. That could make them useful in treating blood clots or improving circulation. There's also evidence of antibacterial and antioxidant activity. That means this creepy-looking fungus could help in the fight against infections or cellular damage, things we're always trying to treat more effectively. It's still early days, and no one's turning Hydnellum peckii into a pill just yet. But the fact that this bizarre bleeding fungus might hold the key to new medicines? That's a twist worthy of science fiction. Or maybe just science. So yes, Hydnellum peckii looks like something out of a horror movie. But underneath that creepy aesthetic lies a quiet, essential role in the ecosystems where it grows. Fungi like this aren't just weird, they're vital. As stated before, like many members of the fungal kingdom, Hydnellum peckii is mycorrhizal. So it forms a symbiotic relationship with the roots of nearby trees, particularly conifers like pine and spruce. The fungus attaches to the tree's roots and helps it absorb water and minerals like nitrogen and phosphorus from the soil, resources that are hard to get on their own. In return, the tree shares some of the sugars it produces during photosynthesis. It's a trade deal that benefits both sides and one that's essential for tree growth, especially in tough, nutrient-poor environments like acidic soils. This underground exchange also contributes to soil health. Fungi help to stabilize the soil, break down organic matter, and keep nutrients cycling through the forest. Without them, leaf litter and dead wood would pile up, and trees would struggle to get the nutrients they need. So while Hydnellum peckii may be hiding beneath the forest floor or tucked under a layer of moss and needles, it's doing heavy lifting where we can't see it, nurturing trees, maintaining the soil, and balancing ecosystems. And here's the wild part. Despite all that, we barely understand fungi. Scientists estimate that there may be between 2 and 10 million fungal species on Earth, yet only around 150,000 have been formally described. That means the vast majority of fungi, their behaviors, their roles in ecosystems, their chemistry, remain completely unknown to science. We're walking through forests filled with secrets, and in the case of Hydnellum peckii, those secrets are under threat. In parts of Europe, this species has been labeled threatened, not because people are collecting it, but because its habitats are vanishing. Deforestation, soil compaction, and pollution all disrupt the delicate balance fungi rely on. And unlike big mammals or showy plants, fungi often don't get the same legal protections or public attention. They're out of sight and out of the conversation. That's a problem, because when we lose fungi, we're not just losing weird bleeding teeth in the woods, we're losing vital partners in the ecosystem. We're weakening the underground networks that hold forests together. Fungi like Hydnellum peckii remind us how much of the natural world is still mysterious, and how much is quietly working behind the scenes. So the next time you're in the forest, and you spot something strange oozing red from the ground, don't just recoil. Pause. Wonder. You might be looking at a lifeline in disguise. So let's take one last look at this bizarre little fungus. We've met Hydnellum peckii, a species that bleeds but doesn't suffer, whose oozing red droplets aren't blood, but chemical cocktails with surprising complexity. A fungus that doesn't have gills, but spines, and spends its life quietly plugged into tree roots, trading nutrients through an ancient underground network. It's bitter, inedible, and incredibly strange. Yet it may hold medicinal secrets we haven't fully uncovered, and it does all this while camouflaged among moss, needles, and shadows in the forest floor. This isn't just a curiosity, it's a living example of how bizarre and brilliant nature can be, especially in the fungal kingdom, where life often defies our expectations. We're taught to look up at trees, flowers, birds, the obvious beauty. But sometimes the most fascinating stories are hiding underfoot, in organisms that don't bloom or sing or sparkle, but still manage to challenge what we think life should look like. Hydnellum peckii might look like it belongs in a horror movie, but it's a living reminder that beauty and weirdness often go hand in hand. And maybe, just maybe, that weirdness is part of what makes the natural world so worth exploring. Thanks for joining me on this dive into the strange and spectacular. If you enjoyed this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment with the weirdest fungus you've ever seen, or one you'd like me to cover next. Until then, keep your eyes open, your curiosity sharp, and never stop wondering. This has been the Flora Files. See you next time.